Looks like we're good to go. Hi, everyone. Hello and welcome. And folks are going to start trickling in here. But hello and welcome to Vaccinated and Proud. My name is Michael Vazquez and my pronouns are he, him. And I'm the Religion Faith Director here at the Human Rights Campaign. Thank you for joining tonight for a kickoff to our participation in the White House's Month of Action and working to get 70% of the country vaccinated in partnership with Made to Save, the Washington National Cathedral, and LGBTQ affirming faith communities around the country. Since early 2020, we have been enduring this relentless battle against COVID-19. And while we've been in this together, we know full well the worst of this pandemic and its devastating impacts on the lives of our loved ones and communities have been felt the most by those at the margins of society. LGBTQ people of color have had to endure some of the absolute worst of this pandemic's brutality. And our community continues to wade through the troubled waters of the grief, the trauma, and the economic devastation that has all come as a result of this nightmare. This month of action, this vaccination month of action, which began on June 4th and runs through July 4th, is a major effort to get our community safe, healthy, and whole, and in a position to build back. The theologian and mystic Howard Thurman wrote that there is a certain grandeur and nobility in administering to one another, to another's needs out of one's fullness and plenty. We have an opportunity to work together to make sure that those most impacted by this pandemic are resourced in a very specific and tangible way that affords folks the opportunity to experience that fullness and plenty themselves. HRC is working to set up pop-up vaccination clinics around the country at LGBTQ affirming houses of worship and other sites to bring the vaccine directly to community. In addition to that, we're working to resource as many faith communities on our network as possible, with all the tools and resources necessary to set up these pop-up clinics, canvass their communities, and get the word out that the vaccine is ready, available, and free. Tonight, we have an incredible lineup of speakers who will share more about this campaign, its impact on the LGBTQ community, and how your involvement in it can help us get to the goal of 70% vaccinated by July 4th. We together have at our disposal all of the fullness and plenty necessary to make sure our communities are safe, healthy, and whole, and can, as a result, experience a brighter, more just, a healthier, and more abundant life. So let's make it happen. To begin, it is my honor to introduce President of the Human Rights Campaign, Alfonso David. Thanks for joining us, Alfonso.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Michael. Thank you to everyone who's joining us this evening. My name is Alfonso David, and I'm the President of the Human Rights Campaign, which, as you may know, is the largest lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer civil rights organization in the nation and around the globe. 16 months ago, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic. What followed was an extraordinarily challenging time, a time where each and every one of us experienced some loss. Some of us have lost loved ones. Some of us have fallen ill, and some of us are still recovering. Some of us have lost our jobs or taken on multiple jobs to support our families. It has been a time that has truly tested our resilience and our resolve. And it has been a time that has laid bare the systemic inequities that are facing LGBTQ people, particularly transgender people and LGBTQ people of color. And this inequity must be urgently addressed in this country. Now, as we come together to celebrate Pride this year, we have hope on the horizon because our communities came together like never before this past election. We now have a new federal administration, new federal leadership that's committed to protecting the lives and the welfare of the people they serve, including LGBTQ people. With 3 safe and effective vaccines approved by the Federal Drug Administration, we are that much closer to being able to safely get back to work, to school, and to gather in person again. Some of us are already vaccinated and may feel comfortable attending in-person events. Around the world, we're seeing people begin to gather in celebration. This Pride Month, like our elders before us, we celebrate our survival as we remember those we have lost. In this Pride Month, we know that we cannot and must not be the same again. Last year, we were reminded of Pride's revolutionary origins. You may know this, but it started as a fight against police brutality, which was led by Black and Latinx trans women. And in a country where LGBTQ people are living in many states of crises, in a world still grappling with COVID, in a time where the same racial injustice that set the world all right last June, mostly unchecked. What does that mean for Pride? What does that mean for how we recognize this time? I say that we have to celebrate Pride by recentering our activism, acknowledging the unfinished promise of the movement, creating a world where every single member of our community can actually thrive. Part of our work to fulfill that promise must be ensuring that every single person has the resources that they need to rebuild their lives and recover from the pandemic. We need to make sure that people can get vaccinated to protect themselves, to protect their loved ones, to protect their neighbors. But for us to do that, we need to make sure that we have all of the information in the infrastructure to access the vaccine and to feel comfortable using it. And to begin, we must address medical distrust in many of our communities. Distrust, no doubt, that has been fueled by past and present challenges when it comes to accessing and receiving care, particularly care that treats us with dignity and respect. As we acknowledge these challenges and the work to overcome them, we are guided by one singular principle, making sure that no person is left behind. This is not only an essential step to our nation's recovery, it's also a moral imperative. Our movement elders and faith leaders remind us that we must be God's love in action. Together, we must keep our community safe, healthy, and thriving. And LGBTQ affirming faith communities and faith leaders have always been trusted messengers in the fight for equality, and their voices and their leadership are really crucial now as we try to get our communities vaccinated. That is why, together with the Biden and the Harris administration, Made to Save, the National Cathedral, and faith communities around the country, we are launching a national COVID-19 vaccination campaign for a National Vaccine Month of Action. We are really grateful for all of the partnerships, the leadership, and the fellowship that we have in this initiative. Doing Pride, we have to find joy in our community. Our community inspires us, it sustains us, and supports us. And as we look to a brighter future, we must ensure that all members of our community get the support that they need to enter into this next chapter, poised to thrive. Now, I have the pleasure of introducing Josh Dickson, who's the White House Senior Advisor for Public Engagement and the Deputy Director of the White House Office of Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships. Josh, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Alfonso. And I just want to start off by saying amen to all of that. That was really, really wonderful. And just such a great reminder of why we do this work and what this month is about, as well as what this campaign is about and what our ongoing campaigns for civil rights and justice and equality for all are all about. It's great to be here with everybody. Again, my name is Josh Dickson, and first want to start off by saying Happy Pride on behalf of the president and the vice president. I hope folks were able to see the vice president and second gentleman out at the DC Pride Parade this weekend. And we are just so thrilled for their leadership and President Biden and First Lady Biden's just fervent and steadfast support for the LGBTQ plus community, their support for the Equality Act, which we continue to fight for and to work towards, and just their deep belief in the inherent human dignity of everyone. That's been the case since this administration kicked off, including at the presidential inaugural prayer service, which had a historic representation from the LGBTQ plus community. The first meeting that my office held was with LGBTQ faith leaders and allies. And we've continued to push for that in our personnel, in the policies we're pursuing, and in different ways that we see as opportunities for partnership. And we invite you all to continue to partner with us, and we hope for as many opportunities to collaborate and to be pushed and to make progress together as possible. On that front, I'm just really thrilled that my friend Michael invited me to be here today to speak a little bit about our month of action. On June 2nd, President Biden announced a national month of action to really work hand in hand at the community level to get people vaccinated and to get the word out. There are so many people, so many people in this country right now who are open to, interested in, or have just a couple questions about how they can get vaccinated. Tens of millions who just a little bit of information, a call, a text from a family or friend, a message from a community leader, a faith leader, could make that difference. And what we're seeing is, of the people who have not yet gotten vaccinated, who are open to it, it's trusted messengers are making the biggest difference. Again, it's folks like Reverend Neil, who's going to speak a little bit later, some of the other folks, Reverend Hamlin, and people who are tuning in and just able to connect at the community level. So this month of action is all about person-to-person grassroots engagement. That's it. That's what the president spoke about when he announced this. And we know that that's how we get things done in this country, is through communities. That's why this administration is here. It's because communities stepped up and said, here's what we stand for. These are the values that we stand for. And that's really the hard work ahead of us, which is a continuation of the work that so many of you all have been doing on this virus and just against its disproportionate impact on people of color, on vulnerable communities, on the LGBTQ plus community. And this month is really about how are we letting people know about great resources like vaccines.gov, where you can go choose which vaccine you want and find a vaccine site within 5 miles of you. Resources like the text code Get Vax, which you can text your zip code to, or Vacuna, which you can also text your zip code to and find 3 vaccination sites close to you. Things like the National Vaccination Hotline, which is available in a multitude of different languages and is very, very helpful for folks looking to get more information. Things like that are making a big difference every week and every day, as well as we have seen some information and some data that came out last month that showed faith-based interventions are statistically proven to have an impact on moving people from being vaccine hesitant to wanting to get vaccinated and taking that step. Your voices matter tremendously. And again, we've been running a public education campaign. We will continue to, but at the end of the day, what's going to get us to our goal of finally beating this pandemic? It's going to be that person-to-person engagement through trusted messengers, through family and friends, through community leaders, through faith leaders like yourselves. So what's the ask? Get involved in the National Month of Action. We'll share information with you all about how to do that, but the website to go to is wecandothis.hhs.gov. Again, it's wecandothis.hhs.gov. And that's where you can sign up to be a part of the National Month of Action. We strongly encourage everyone who signs up. We have weekly calls on Monday where we run through some of the highlights from the previous week, things coming up the next week, including a national bus tour that we're doing this week with the Vice President was at a stop in Greenville, South Carolina today. Tomorrow, EPA Administrator Michael Regan will be in North Carolina, in Charlotte and Raleigh, doing stops and canvas kickoffs at vaccine sites. On Wednesday and Thursday, the second gentleman will be out in Memphis and Birmingham, Alabama, doing stops. And we have a number of other stops that we're going to announce next week. And you'll get more information about that on our weekly calls and how to get involved. And if you're in those locations, how to show up and how to be a part of those special events. We are also encouraging, if you are a minister or if you attend a congregation or if you are a community leader and have events with community members, encouraging you all to share information about how people can get vaccinated in those settings. Again, we're finding that makes a really, really big difference. So strongly encourage that, even if it's just a few lines in your weekly announcements and your sermons and your homilies, makes, again, a big difference. A lot of folks don't know the vaccine is free. A lot of folks don't know that they can get a free ride, Uber or Lyft. A lot of folks don't know they can get free childcare, which was announced by the president a couple of weeks ago as well. So there are a lot of information gaps, and we know that those stem from inequities. Those stem from access gaps, which again, disproportionately disadvantage the most vulnerable among us. So we're trying to close those gaps, and we can only do it when we do it together. Also, as Michael mentioned, We now have a number of pharmacy partners who are looking to do pop-up vaccination clinics. We'll share a toolkit with you all where you can find more information about how to do that. That is also something that is available at wecandothis.hhs.gov. We'll make sure you have the direct link. And we'll also share a couple videos that the Vice President, as well as former President Barack Obama have filmed for faith leaders encouraging vaccinations, to make sure you have those. And again, can show those either on your social media pages, on during services, during community events, and get those out to folks for whom they may resonate. So, we have a lot of resources, but at the end of the day, what's really going to happen is when folks hear about this from people they know and trust, that's what the difference maker will be. And the only way that we beat this, this pandemic that has ravaged our country and our communities in so many different ways, and had a significant amount of collateral damage in all these different humanitarian impacts. The only way that we beat this is through trusted messengers at the local level. That's how we get this thing done. So we're asking for this one last push. Hopefully that you all sign up at wecandothis.hhs.gov to be a part of the month of action. We'll get these resources your way, along with some other resources that are just helpful, a flyer and some other things like that we're sharing with faith leaders and with others to just have on hand, and including your websites, have at your different services and again, community events, and we'll get those all your way. So with that, I'll turn it back to Michael and team, but just so grateful for the work of the Human Rights Campaign. So grateful for Alfonso David, Michael Vazquez, and for Reverend Neil, for Reverend Hamlin here, and just their tremendous work that they do every single day on the front lines in their communities. So with that, Michael, I'll pass it back to you. And again, just on behalf of the White House and on behalf of the President, Vice President, our whole team, leaving here tonight on a note of gratitude and looking forward to working with you all. Michael?
Thanks so much, Josh. Your leadership on this campaign is making a world of difference for the LGBTQ community, but really also the entire country. And so thank you. It's always a gift to work with you. Now to introduce a new friend, the Reverend Canon Leonard Hamlin, Canon Missioner and Minister of Equity at the Washington National Cathedral. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your work. Thank you.
Well, let me say thank you. It is great, of course, to make this connection, and on really behalf of the entire Cathedral community, our dean, as well as the Bishop of Washington, it's a great pleasure for me as missioner to be able to express not only our commitment, but also to share with everyone during this Pride Month, as well as during this campaign. As we all know, it was just really a year ago when we were all coming into this moment that we were seeing things that perhaps we did not want to see, and we've been learning things that have been surprising to many. But what we've really learned, and I hope that everyone has seen, is how much we need each other. Is that as we have been doing outreach with the campaign and encouraging everyone to get vaccinated and to be vaccinated, we recognize the importance of what it means to example how we have a regard for who is my neighbor, as well as recognizing that we are all working to make certain that our families, our friends, our communities, and loved ones are really taken care of in a way that shows that we really love them. And as it has always been said, that action speaks louder than words. This is a month of action. And so we're committed to helping to spread the word, to get the word out, to reach into really all communities, to make certain that as we have been discussing, and this talk of equity has really risen to a level that many are paying attention, that we use this moment to really express the love and to show the love between each other that needs to be lifted at a time like this. And so we are placing information on our website. We hope that everyone, as you may be touching different sites, that you'll find the information that has been talked about of where you can go and what you may be able to do, especially, again, to look at the website wecandothis.hhs.gov. And as we are providing opportunities and directions, that we are working in the levels of relationship. So I'm thankful to the Human Rights Campaign that we have this moment to connect with them. I am grateful today as well that I have a chance, of course, to connect with Dr. Thomas on this as well. And that as we look across the board, the only way that we're going to make it through a moment like this and through all moments is when we are building the kind of unity and relationship one with another that makes a difference and really expresses what beloved community is all about. So I want to say thank you for this opportunity. And thank you again, Michael, for allowing us the opportunity to really do what we have, not just the desire to do, but let me say as faith leaders, we have a responsibility to do. So we're grateful for this moment.
And we're grateful for you. Thank you so much for your leadership and your commitment to this work, and constantly, right, in the as a theologian, right, like I always come back to this belief that, right, that comes from the womanist and mujerista traditions, that we get to where we need to go en conjunto, we get there together. So thank you for your partnership and your leadership. Excited to now introduce another good friend, the Reverend Dr. Neil Thomas, senior pastor of Cathedral of Hope in Dallas, Texas, who's been doing a lot of incredible work on the vaccination front, on a lot of fronts, but particularly on the vaccination front, even before this month of action kicked off. So thank you, you two, for your leadership and for joining us tonight. Welcome.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you so much for inviting us to partner with you. As you've already said, I'm Reverend Neil. I'm the senior pastor at Cathedral of Hope in Dallas, Texas. And some would say we're the largest predominantly LGBT congregation in the country. And we are certainly excited about this month of action. Happy Pride. This is Pride Month. We had our Pride festivities here in Dallas just a couple of weeks ago. We have been really strongly encouraging people, both in our congregation and in our community, to get vaccinated, to really take seriously their health. As an LGBT community, we have been through a pandemic before, and we've learned some of the lessons from a previous pandemic, and we bring some of those to the table in this pandemic. We understand fear and shame that is associated to both pandemics. And we need to speak our truth to power. And I think that's why it's so important for us, specifically as faith leaders, to be in this and to be speaking publicly about getting vaccinated and taking one's health very seriously, especially now. And so we're grateful to partner with you. As you say, we've already done one vaccination drive just about a month or so ago, where we brought, we partnered with the LGBT seniors group here in Dallas. And we brought three vulnerable communities together. We brought our seniors having access to vaccines within the Dallas community, predominantly LGBT seniors. We also worked through our benevolence ministries, specifically the homeless communities, and brought people onto the campus to get vaccinated there. And then because we were just able to start vaccinating kids, youth and teenagers, we started with our first group of youth from our youth group coming and being vaccinated. We thought it was really important, as Canon Len has already said, it's more than words. We have to put this into practice. And so in March of this year, we had all of our clergy get vaccinated, and we did that publicly so that the congregation could see it. We encouraged our members of our congregation to get vaccinated. And then, of course, we did our first vaccination drive, which was very successful and beautifully put together. We're excited about this particular one, Vaccinated and Proud, because we're going to get to partner with the Resource Center here in Dallas, which is our LGBTQ center. And we are going to partner together one Saturday and before the 4th of July. And we're going to work to be that public face in the Dallas community. And I think one of the great benefits, if we want to see a silver lining of this particular pandemic, one of the great silver linings is that we have been able to build those partnerships, strengthen those partnerships, realize that we are in this work together, that both faith communities and our LGBT organizations find new light and new life and that for many who perhaps are still suspect, especially in the LGBT community of faith communities, this is one way of standing as open and affirming congregations across the country to build those bridges with those who have been ostracized from the faith community. And just before this call, I was watching the latest episode of Pose, Take Me to Church, and I took a moment of personal privilege to hear the story, of so many Black and brown folks who have been ostracized from their faith communities based on their gender identity and same gender loving experience. And this is a great opportunity, I think, for us as faith leaders and as faith communities to put our money where our mouth is, and to lead by example, so that we can meet this goal of 70% of the population here in the United States vaccinated, and then start to rebuild trust with each other, which really is the work of the church. No social change movement has ever happened in the United States without people of faith standing shoulder to shoulder and leading the charge. And as we think about what it looks like to return to normal, I hope that the new normal that we see is where we will cross borders and cross boundaries and start to repair this country, so that we can finally put to sleep some of the isms and phobias that have lived in this country for far too long. And Vaccinated and Proud is a good step forward. So thank you for this opportunity. And I really just want to encourage other faith leaders to get involved and build those bridges, specifically with the LGBTQ community. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you for your partnership. I'm so grateful for all of you joining tonight. And as promised to all of our attendees, we will be ending shortly. And so what I have the pleasure of doing now is just sharing a few of the events that we have coming up, and how y'all can get involved, and how you can set up your own events. I will be following up with everyone who joined and everyone who registered who wasn't able to make it live. All of the information, so the information that Josh shared, the information, all the links from the Cathedral, the Washington National Cathedral and the Cathedral of Hope. And we've got a lot of cathedrals here today. We love it. All that information will go out. I did drop the link that Josh shared again in the chat, but again, it is wecandothis.hhs.gov. But I will follow up all the resources, the toolkit, the one-pagers, the posters, the graphics, everything, so that you can mobilize your communities. Because the best way that we can accomplish, right, as a community organizer at heart, through and through, is like Josh shared, like everyone should, like the trusted messengers are y'all. So whether you're on this call as a faith leader, if you're the head of a steering committee, an HRC steering committee, or you're another community leader, or a leader in your family or in your friend group, right? Like you have all the tools you need at your disposal to help move people along to make sure that your community is healthy and safe. So quick rundown, right? This, and this will all be in the follow-up email, so don't you worry, is that our first event will be in St. Louis, Missouri, this Saturday, Juneteenth. Is a big Black Joy event. We'll be celebrating. There's a free barbecue, there's live music, and there will be, courtesy of the St. Louis Health Department, there will be vaccines available for you to come enjoy the company outside in Fairgrounds Park from 4 to 7. And so if anyone is here from St. Louis, that's available to you. On the 26th, we'll be having 2 events in New York City, one at Middle Collegiate Church from 12 to 4, and then from 4 to 7 at St. Francis of Assisi in Midtown. And meanwhile, same day, a lot of people said the 26th was the day to do it. So there's an incredible event at Stomp Out HIV that, again, right, we talk about the history and trajectory of the LGBTQ community. Like we've lived through the horrors of a pandemic, and we're still living through the impact of that one. Still waiting for a cure, still fighting for a cure. And so here at this HIV event, again, live public event, a lot of information on how we combat HIV. We'll also be setting up a vaccination pop-up clinic there as well. We'll follow up with those details. Same day over in Chicago, in Boys Town, at Our Lady of Mount Carmel, the local Catholic LGBT group is setting up a pop-up clinic right there in the intersection, is major intersection in Boys Town. And so again, another really exciting event for folks of like, how do we make sure our community is vaccinated? We show up in community, right? We show up where our people are. And that's what the opportunity y'all have, right? Like we'll be working with Cathedral of Hope, we'll be working with the National Cathedral. We have some others, folks that we're still confirming with and finalizing details for. And so what's exciting is that all of you also have the opportunity, right? I'm here to tell you that as big and impressive as this campaign might feel or look like, maybe it doesn't, you tell me, don't tell me, whatever it looks like, but it has been both a delight and a joy and incredibly easy to set these up, right? Like to say like, we're going to get a group of people to canvas, we're going to set up a pop-up clinic at an event we already have going on. All of these things have been fairly smooth. You know, I love a logistics, so like maybe that's part of it, but I do think, right, that getting the information out in community, setting up the right, the infrastructure for these types of events or clinics or canvassing or just texting all your friends and getting the information out to community is a lot easier than it might seem. We have, again, I'll say this, I said at the top, I've said it a few times, a lot of folks have said this, but we have at our disposal all the tools, all the resources available to us to get our communities healthy and vaccinated and safe, so that we can do the work of building back our country better and the new normal that the good Reverend Doctor mentioned, right? Like that we can envision a future that is equitable and just and healthy for everyone, that we can reimagine what our communities could look like in light of what we've learned from this past year and a half and change. And so I will be following up with all of you. I'm so grateful for you all joining tonight. All of this information will be in an email either late tonight or tomorrow. So check your inbox and then send it out. The recording for this webinar will also be available, so you can share that with folks in your community and say like, hey, we had incredible lineup of speakers at this webinar. Come get some information and set up your own so that by July 4th, we can look back and say the work that we did got this country vaccinated, healthy, and safe. But on behalf of the Human Rights Campaign and all of our partners, we thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to reporting out on July 4th about the incredible work. Thank you and have a good night.